On the rocky shore of the Aegean Sea, where olive groves descend to the water and the wind carries the salty scent of freedom, lived a fisherman named Demetrius. He was a stern but fair man, and his entire life was dedicated to one purpose: his family. He dreamed that his wife Eleni would never know poverty, that his daughter Sophia would receive the education he never had, and that his son Nikos would grow up strong and respected. Demetrius worked from dawn to dusk. He went out to sea in any weather, mended his boat with his own hands, haggled over every drachma at the market. The neighbors said, "Demetrius has a heart of gold," but no one knew the price of that gold. His wife Eleni often cried at night, not from resentment, from loneliness. Demetrius was near, but always at a distance. His thoughts were consumed by money, the future, debts. He didn't notice how she looked at the sea, how she touched his shoulder in sleep, how she placed dinner before him that grew cold while he counted coins. "I'm doing this for you," he would say when Eleni asked him to stay home. "For the family." She said nothing. What could she say to a man who was sacrificing himself? One day, an old sage named Epictetus sailed into the village. He was not rich. He had neither home nor family, but people were drawn to him because in his eyes there was a peace they themselves lacked. Demetrius approached him after a long night watch, when exhaustion could no longer be hidden behind cheerfulness. "Teacher," he said, "I want to ask you something. I have devoted my whole life to my family. I have given them everything, but somehow I feel no happiness. Why is my wife sad? Why are my children silent? And why has the sea stopped bringing me joy?" Epictetus looked at him with a long, calm gaze and replied, "You have made 3 mistakes, Demetrius. 3 mistakes that people often make for those they love. Shall I name them?" Demetrius nodded. "Then listen," said the sage. "Come with me." They sat on the stones by the water, and Epictetus began his story. In Athens, there lived a potter named Agathon. He had a wife and 3 children. He worked from morning till night, firing pots, painting vases, selling them at the market. He saved money so his children could study in the best schools, so his wife could wear silk, so his house would become the finest in the neighborhood. "When we get rich, then we'll really live," he would say. And every day he repeated it. His wife Ksenia would plead, "Let's go to the shore today. The children want to see the sunset." "No time," Agathon would answer. "I have to finish an order." "But the children are growing up," she wept. "They've already forgotten your face. When we have a bigger house, I'll buy them everything and they'll be happy," he would reply. The years passed. Agathon grew rich. He bought a large house, hired servants, sent his children to Athens. But one day, returning home from the market, he found the house empty. Ksenia had left. Not for another man to a monastery. Agathon found her there, in white robes, her head bowed. "Why?" he asked. "I asked you for sunsets," she replied. "You gave me gold. I asked for a moment of your time. You gave me a house. I asked for your hands to hold me. You gave me money. You built a future, but forgot that the present is all we ever have." Agathon fell to his knees, but it was too late. Epictetus turned to Demetrius. "Do you understand? The first mistake is sacrificing today's warmth for tomorrow's comfort. Your family needs you now, not in some imaginary future where you will be happy. Children do not wait. Wives do not wait. The sunset over the sea does not repeat." Demetrius lowered his head. He remembered how many times he had refused walks, conversations, simple evenings when they could just sit together in silence. Epictetus continued, "In Sparta, there lived a blacksmith named Lycurgus. He was strong and proud. He had a younger brother who was always getting into trouble, losing money at dice, fighting with neighbors, falling into debt with moneylenders. Lycurgus bailed him out every time. He paid his debts, settled quarrels, gave money for new ventures. "He's my brother," Lycurgus would tell his wife. "I can't abandon him." "This is for family." His wife sighed, but said nothing. Their own children went about in torn chitons because the money went to their uncle. The boat stood unrepaired because Lycurgus had given his last coins to his brother. One day, the brother came again, begging for help. Creditors wanted to kill him. Lycurgus gave away his house to save him. The family was left on the street. "Are you satisfied now?" his wife asked. "But he's my brother," Lycurgus replied. "And what about us?" she asked. "Who are we?" Lycurgus didn't answer. A year later, his brother was in debt again, but there was nothing left to save him with. Soon, Lycurgus fell ill and died, and his family was left destitute. Epictetus looked at Demetrius. The second mistake is taking responsibility for an adult who does not want to change. You think you're helping your family, but in fact, you're betraying your own wife and children. Your brother, your sister, your father, they are your blood, but they are not your children. If you save someone who doesn't want to be saved, you drown yourself and your loved ones. Demetrius remembered how many times he had given money to his brother-in-law, who drank it away the same evening. How many times he had excused him to Eleni. "He's your brother." "And the third story," said Epictetus. "In Corinth, there lived a man named Nicias. He was a talented sculptor, and the gods had given him a rare gift. His statues could have adorned temples all over Hellas, but Nicias married young, and many children were born to him. He told himself, 'My art can wait. First, I will raise my children.' He abandoned his chisel, took hard labor in the port, carrying sacks of grain. The children grew, and Nicias grew old. When his sons came of age, they said, 'Father, you've always been a laborer. What can you teach us?' They did not respect him, because they saw not a man, but only a tired back bent under a load. Nicias fell ill and died in poverty. At his funeral, no one spoke a kind word of him, except an old teacher who remembered his statues. But the statues were unfinished. 'Remember, Demetrius,' said Epictetus, 'the third mistake, giving up your own soul for the sake of family. If you cease to be who the gods made you, your children will receive nothing from you but fatigue and resentment. They will remember not your love, but your exhaustion. First you must become yourself, and only then give. Otherwise, there is nothing to give.' Demetrius lowered his head. He remembered how he had dreamed of becoming a painter in his youth, but gave up that dream when his first son was born. Demetrius sat without raising his head. 'What should I do?' he asked. 'Don't sacrifice the present,' replied the sage. 'Don't carry adult relatives on your back. Don't kill your own dream. Family is not an altar on which you lay your life. Family is a garden where everyone must bloom. If one flower withers, the rest will also dry up.' Demetrius returned home late at night. Eleni was sleeping, covered with an old blanket. He lay down beside her and said quietly, 'Tomorrow, we won't go to the market. Tomorrow, we'll go to the shore, together.' Eleni didn't answer, but he felt her hand rest on his shoulder. The next day, he refused to give money to his brother-in-law. For the first time in 10 years, and he didn't die. He didn't even feel guilty. A month later, he bought paints in his youth. He had loved to draw. Eleni smiled when she saw him at his easel. 'What's that?' she asked. 'My dream,' he answered. 'I decided it's part of our family too.'